So this week we are talking about sustainable change and the things that are necessary to make something a long-term behavior versus sort of more of a short-term flash in the pan. Okay, and I think that starts by the way we set goals and we regard how we're doing. Okay, and so one of the big errors that I see people making, initially when they're talking about getting into fitness or preparing for anything, is that they set a goal like, I'm going to take 3 minutes off my 10K time. And so they train for, let's say, 8 weeks, and they only take 1.5 minutes off their 10K time. And they did all of this training and this crazy stuff to get there. But because they didn't sustain their goal or achieve their goal, they fell short, they made some progress. They just said, man, this just didn't work. I'm not doing it anymore. So everything just goes by the wayside. Whereas if we stepped back from that and we were to say, okay, I know that I want to run a faster 5K, or faster 10K. So I'm gonna look at the behaviors that I need to adopt in order to do that. I know that I need to, increase my mileage a little bit every week. I know that I need to get better sleep, and you can kind of write down the things that are necessary. And then we just tackle them thing by thing. And rather than condensing it into a certain length of time where we say, man, I'm going to try to get this specific result in this specific amount of time, we spread it out and we just look at it as we are moving towards our goal, which is just generally getting better at this thing. The same idea can be applied to anything, because unless we have a specific deadline that we have to achieve something, which amounts to pressure, it's just kind of analyzing the things that we have to do to meet a longer term, just general goal. Okay. And so I would encourage you, regardless of whether you want to look better on stage, whether you have like an athletic goal that you want to hit, whatever it may be, just create a big, broad goal for yourself and just say, hey, I want to look, I want to look great on stage. Okay. And so that involves nutritional things and that involves physical things. Okay. Am I exercising right now? Okay. What are all my nutritional bad habits? Okay, if you, let's say you drink, 3 Cokes at night. Initially, our first goal for the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we would say, okay, rather than drinking 3 Cokes at night, you're just going to drink 1. Okay, and then if you could do that, then we're just going to drink, a Diet Coke every night. And we just literally write everything out and we just move down that list as you're able to. And for me, that's creating those sort of sustainable changes that allow you to sort of hit a long-term goal, right? Which is, not necessarily a specific thing, but is rolling over time. So for me, that's kind of just determining first, what direction do you want to move in? Okay, what is the thing that you want to achieve as far as a big, broad goal goes? And then, how do we break down the things that we need to do to get there? And then where do we start, and where do we go from there? So the next concept that we want to cover when it comes to sustainable change is looking at things longer term. So when I write a program for a client, and they have a show 6 months from now, okay, the program is 6 months. And, based upon the client's time frame, their schedule, and what they have going on, they're either going to do more or less. They're either going to make more of a physical commitment when they have less stuff to do vocally, or if they have more stuff to do vocally, they do, less physical stuff. I think keeping it real in that way is a really big deal, because an error that a lot of people make, in my experience, is they say, I have all of these, life things going on, and it could be performances, it could just be stuff with family or whatever it may be. But then they tell themselves, I'm also going to do all of these physical things, and it's just completely unsustainable. So literally, one thing that I encourage you to do, and I encourage, all my clients to do when I start working with them, is we get a calendar. We get like an old school yearly calendar, and we look at the months when we have more time. Okay, we write out big life events, or in the case of, performing, we write out, really important performances, really important auditions. Okay, around those times, we are doing less. Okay, we're not doing as much. Your physical commitment is less because you don't have as much time, and you need to focus on the things that are really important, which at that point is performing and practicing. Okay, whereas when we have, things where there's a little bit of a lull, maybe between performances, between life events, then we can work out more days, then we can go harder because we're not devoting as many physical resources to other things. Okay, and just making that determination gives us an idea of like, okay, in May, when I don't have as much going on with, life and performance, I can do more. So I'll plan for that. Whereas in July, when you have a bunch of auditions or you have, performances, then you're going to do much less. And you're just going to do sort of maybe the bare minimum, which we covered earlier on this month, just to get you through. But by doing that, it's just the idea of just doing a little thing every day and then just doing more when you can based upon a schedule. So to round out our discussion about sustainable change, let's talk logistics. Singers are starting to travel again, starting to perform. Things are opening back up, which is fantastic. But the problem with that is that when it comes to training, that robs us of time, it robs us of equipment, access to gyms, and sort of all of the things that we associate with working out. What I would challenge you to do is to combine strength training and cardio into a format that you can do quickly and effectively. Okay, and what I mean by that, I'm going to demonstrate 2 different formats with just common exercises that I really like for singers. Okay, and the reason that I do, we've talked about this in weeks past, is that I can do a really hard workout in about 10 to 15 minutes in a hotel room. I can breathe through my nose, and I can get a lot of the really good benefits that I would, if I'm doing all of this stuff separately, by putting them together in a condensed amount of time. Okay, and so one of the formats that I really like is just called a timed circuit. So if we take 3 exercises, okay, let's say that we're working core that day, we're going to work on, our lower body, and we're going to work on our upper body, okay? Typically, I'm just going to choose upper body, lower body, and then a core, okay? I'm going to set a clock for 10 minutes, okay? I'm going to do those at a pace that gets my heart rate up, and I'm just going to try to keep going, okay? If you wanted to challenge yourself and we were working at more of sort of a higher cardio pace, I would try to do as many rounds of those things, meaning I would do them back to back for 1 round, and I would start over and I would do 2 rounds and so forth. I'd do as many rounds as I could in 10 minutes, but if I just want to get, sort of a workout, I'm just going to work on doing these things while breathing through my nose, okay? So as an example, I could do something like 10 push-ups. I could stand up. I could do 10 squats, okay, and then I could do a side plank reach, okay, where I'm reaching, and I'm kind of going like that. So I would literally just do those things for 10 reps each for about 10 minutes, okay, and just working on breathing through my nose. If I find that, I need to stop and breathe through my mouth, I'm going to moderate my pace a little bit, but that is also going to give us that good cardiovascular effect that's going to open everything back up. It's going to help to build that cardiovascular endurance we've talked about in weeks past. I could do that, but I could do those same schemes while doing interval training. I could do squats for, 45 seconds. I could rest for 30 seconds, recover through my nose. I could do push-ups. Same idea. And then I could just hold it a side plank. All right, the idea would be the same. The emphasis would just be a little bit different. So I would encourage you to do that. You could do those. You could do, both in about 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe alternate between them. Maybe do more of a timed circuit on Monday. Maybe on Wednesday do maybe a 10-minute interval circuit. And on Friday, go back to the timed circuit. Just alternate. Okay, I find that to be really effective. It's quick. You get a lot of the benefits of when you have more time, and that's going to maintain or even build your fitness as you go along. So give that a go, and please, as always, let us know if you have any questions.